All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Thank you all very much for coming out for this demonstration. For those that don't know me, I'm Josh Hamilton with the NASCAR Communications team. I know we have some media here at the track that this is your first NASCAR experience. Welcome. We hope you enjoy your day. Let us know how we can help you. For those that don't know, we're here to demonstrate a new app that NASCAR and Microsoft have put together, the race management app that will help our race control officials officiate the race. From NASCAR, we have Steve O'Donnell here. He is our EVP and Chief Racing Development Officer. I'd also like to introduce Jamie Ringstad from Windows Commercial PR to talk about the Microsoft staff.
Thank you, Josh. I want to say I am thrilled to be here representing Microsoft. This has been a great journey for us at Microsoft to be on this journey with NASCAR and to help them develop new technology and technology integration to help make racing faster and more efficient. I want to introduce Mike Downey, who's our principal architect from Microsoft to help develop the app on our side. And Jason Campbell, he's our Director of Windows 10 Product Marketing, who will be here to take questions towards the end of the briefing. So with that, I will hand it to Mr. O'Donnell.
Thank you very much. And from NASCAR's perspective, we're certainly pleased to be back at Sonoma Raceway. Expect certainly an exciting weekend of racing. For those of you who are new, it's a good track to be at. Usually put on some exciting racing week in and week out. So as you know, NASCAR has really put an emphasis, especially over the last 18 months, on technology and new technology, how we can bring things more quickly to the fans, really put them inside the driver's seat, but equally as important, how we can work together to be more efficient from a governing standpoint, especially when it comes to race control. So we are really proud to have partnered with Microsoft, obviously a global leader in technology. What they've been able to do for us in really a short 18-month time span is incredible. You'll see some of that in the video through our inspection applications, a lot of different things that we've done to help us be more efficient. And today, by using Windows 10 and the Azure technology, what you're going to see is a race management application that allows us to not only be more efficient, have everything in one place, but be more transparent. I think for some of those in the room, the Bob Pockrases and the Jeff Glucks who may have a question, how did that call get made? I think in the future, real time, getting that out to not only the media, the fans, and the race teams will really be a game changer for us. So excited to talk about it today, and I think the video will kick it off, and then we'll show a demonstration.
Great.
That our race fans from Azure.
Our fans are some of the most avid fans you'll see in any sport, and our fans want more data, more insights, more connection to their driver. From the moment we take the green flag, the pressure's on. Our race directors are watching everything that's happening on the racetrack. And it's very important for us to be able to quickly make decisions all the way to the end of the checker flag.
When you look at everything that's going on during a NASCAR race, there's tons of data that's coming at us from a number of different directions. The Microsoft Race Management app has allowed us to really put that into one platform. And so instead of looking at 5 or 6 different computer screens, different television feeds, we're able to look at one spot, collect as much data as possible in real time.
Microsoft has really ushered in that next era of technology for us. Apps that we're building with mobile inspection, paint scheme, and race management. It's really given NASCAR a boost of confidence, knowing that we've got a great team at Microsoft that's really taken the time to come in and understand our pain points and challenges and helping us get to that next level of technology.
3, 2, 1. For our officials, it's important to get all of our disparate data down to a single user interface running on Windows 10.
When I think about the future with NASCAR and Microsoft, what excites me and what we've been able to do over 18 months with the new race management system application, the partnership with Microsoft has been a game changer for the sport. I think 5-10 years from now, what the sport could look like and what this partnership could look like with the Windows 10 platform and Azure, I think we've just scratched the surface, and ultimately that's going to benefit our race fans, which is a tremendous opportunity for us.
So from here, I'd like to throw it over to Mike Downey. And Mike, if you can just talk through the development of this app and the process. And as you do, we're going to have a demonstration here. I do want to let you guys know during the demonstration, if you have questions, please raise your hand. We'll get to you. This is interactive. We want you guys to have your questions asked, and then we'll follow with a formal Q&A. So, Mike?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So Microsoft is very interested in working with sports partnerships because it gives us the opportunity to use our technologies to help solve really complicated problems. And NASCAR was one of the biggest opportunities we could find, and we're really excited about working with NASCAR because they really have complicated problems to solve in both, in really three areas, in operations and logistics, in competition and performance, and in fan engagement. And so as we've looked at over the last year working with NASCAR on all the things that we can do, our first major focus was how can we use technology to create efficiencies in how NASCAR runs their races. And that's really the big emphasis on really two applications. First, the mobile inspection app, which is the first app that we developed with NASCAR that took really a paper-based process and turned it into digital and added a lot of checks and capabilities to really enable the inspection team to not miss anything, to make sure they get through the whole process, to digitally log all of that content so it can be associated with everything else that they do operationally in running a race. The exciting thing we have here today that Stephen Bird is, from NASCAR is going to show you here is the race management application. And this is taking 6 different apps and processes historically and consolidating everything into one screen that's flexible, that gives the officials and the operations team a clearer, more precise, up-to-the-minute view of what's going on during a race. And an adaptive interface so that they can change and access the content that they need to access at the right time. So I think the best way to really demonstrate the full value of this is for Stephen to go ahead and launch the app and kind of walk us through the main content.
We'll give you this guy. Under and around.
Hopefully we have enough room to do this. So I'm Stephen Bird. I'm the Director of Technology Integration and Development for NASCAR, and I had the pleasure of working with Microsoft over the past couple of years as we've developed a couple of the apps that Mike and Steve were referring to with mobile inspection, kind of helping us completely transform the way that we run these processes and workflows. And this race management app is really the next evolution and next iteration for us because, as Mike touched on a minute ago, we've got, we say 6, but really there's even more than that. There's more screens, more apps. We've got historical data, timing and scoring data, pit road officiating data, video replay data, this dot racing screen. All of those things today, if you were to walk up in race control, you'd see 15 or 20 different people up there using lots of different screens for all of that information. So today we've got this race management app built on Windows 10, leveraging Azure, and I'm going to go ahead and just hit play here. And it may look very simple at first glance, but there's a lot of things going on the screen. So for one, we've completely reinvented the way that we can show the cars on the screen going around the track. We've got live video that we can embed. And we took this example from Pocono because one of the great features of this is we'll touch on a few of the features that you can look at during a race, but more importantly, we can have access to all of this information immediately following the race. So that's something that in and of itself was a huge challenge for us. We've, again, mentioning all those different disparate systems previously, it was really hard to combine all of that and put that into a package that our officials could review on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday the following week. So we can immediately have access to this data as soon as the race is complete. And then during the race itself, I can come down, I can look at information about a particular car. I can see their last lap speed, their average lap time, fastest lap time. all the pit stops that they made, because again, I'm looking at this from a review point of view. So if we're live, we wouldn't, obviously they haven't made these pit stops yet, but as we're looking at this from a review standpoint, I've got access to all the pit stop information. I can do all sorts of interesting filters and you know, tap to see only the top 10 cars in the field. Right now, all the cars are on the lead lap. I could also say, you know, in this example, I want to see the, you know, the 4, the 27, and the 34. So we may see some interesting developments on track where our officials want to keep track of things with these particular vehicles. We can do that as well. Let's see. Keep going?
I think the pit stop showing the infractions maybe.
Yeah, yeah, let's do that.
Are the scoring loops somewhere, like you have, like know where they are on that? Like would it tell you?
Yeah, actually, yeah. If you, it may be a little hard to tell. You can see the loops kind of faintly painted on the track there. So yeah, so we're taking all the existing loop data. Nothing else is changing from the way that we time and score a race. We're again just kind of repackaging all of this.
Overtime line on there?
What's that?
Is the overtime line, would that be on there so you can see?
Yeah, we haven't put the overtime line on here just yet. Yeah.
There's also a feature to send a race team a
Yeah.
clip of something that's just happened.
Yep. So exactly. So if, let's say at this point in time, and again, whether this is during a race or in a post-race scenario, let's say I want to pause the action here for a second, and we want to show the teams kind of visually maybe something that's going on. And while we're representing the cars as dots today, we're going to get even more refined on the accuracy in which we can show these cars. Because again, as you start to zoom in, you get these dots kind of layered on top of each other. We've got a different screen that's coming out in the next few weeks that's going to give us an even more precise view of that. But this is something that we literally just turned up in the last week or so. So with the action paused here, I can say capture screen, and I can send an email or a text message to the team. So I could be the crew chief, car chief, you know, whatever information we need to send to whomever, we can easily do that right here in the race management app. And that way, it's, you know, any way that we can help diffuse a situation, again, kind of have that level of transparency, as Steve mentioned before, is very important for us.
And I'll add too, one of the things that we can take kind of a phased approach, and one of the things we're looking to do is kind of this first phase is around consolidating operations and systems like this, collecting more information. But as we go forward, we want to help NASCAR better utilize that information that we're helping them collect. And there's a point where we'll be able to use our Microsoft Cloud and our analytics technologies to help them use race data to make a better race product and to better understand how the rules packages affect racing and things like that. So this is really the first of a multi-staged approach to use data to better inform how NASCAR both runs their races and how they tune their races so that they can create an even better product for their fans.
Do you want to show the
Yeah, I was-
yeah, you go ahead, talk into that, and then I'll pull it up.
Is this one on? Yeah, I think one of the things too is as you look at the Pro Trailer and you know, through a separate system now integrated with this as well, so we're able to show, you know, in real time what an infraction was, as Steven talked about. Look at that on the video screen, and then if we have to, shoot that down to the pit box as well. So some cool applications to be able to see what infractions were. I think, what car number do you have here?
Yeah, I've got the 10 car.
So 10 car, for example, in the past, if there was an infraction on pit road, we'd explain it verbally. We'll get back to you Monday or Tuesday. You know, Jeff, you may have a question. Well, what really happened? We try and explain it. You know, in this case, real-time video. We can get to the race team. Hopefully, have that communication. Here was the infraction. Post-race, when we're meeting with the team, we can walk them through visually exactly why the call was made. And then from a full transparency standpoint, you know, to be able to come into the media center and talk about it. If there are questions about an infraction, here it is. Here's why we made the call. I know there still may be some debate. That's okay, but we have much more technology in our hands to be able to showcase that, not only to the media, but to the race fans as well.
So we're going to have this up. We can go into further in-depth demonstration after we're done here, but definitely want to get to some formal Q&A. So if you have a question, please raise your hand and start with your name and affiliation so we know who's asking. We'll start with Jeff. Go ahead and ask.
Jeff Buck from USA Today. It looks like you have sort of been using it on a trial basis maybe. When will it go into full effect where you're relying on it? And how do you see it evolving over time?
So we're going to have it this weekend, and I wouldn't say for full effect. I think it's still, we'll have it in front of us so we can make calls, but we're still learning as we go as well. But this is, as Steven said earlier, and Steven's done a terrific job for our team, is to continually build upon this, and with each race we learn. So it'll be a tool that I think the next big thing for us, Jeff, is getting that directly to the race teams in as real time as we can. We still have some things to work through there, but as you look at the digital dash technology and incorporating that into the platform, I think that's the next step for us. But we should be starting to use that this weekend.
So you have, like, say for now this weekend, you'll have your regular thing that shows speeding penalties, but you'll also sort of be transitioning over time. You'll be able to look at it in there. The more you rely on that, the more you can move away from what you've done over time.
Exactly. Yeah. Right now, so if I'm sitting in race control, I have a laptop, and you hit F1 for speeding penalties. You got to hit something else, and then there's another computer over here for freeze the field. So we'll just have this in front of us. It'll alert us to penalties, and we can see real time if the 10 in the 2 car may have had an incident, early on the race. Historically, we'd say, hey, keep an eye out for where they may be. We can just plug it in. Hey, it looks like in about 20 laps they're going to get together again. Let's keep an eye on it. So that sort of thing will really be a game changer for us.
Lewis?
Yeah, Louis Franco, Reuters. Generally, what type of infractions can you see? Because I know there's a lot of infractions. And what are you still working on that you can't tell right now with the state of the apps?
I think from an infraction standpoint, it's more just putting it all in one place. So instead of having to take your eyes off, the race and look at multiple screens, have different discussions, everyone can just point to, hey, 10 car pit road, take a look at it, and you can see it immediately what's happening. For us, it's really about helping the scoring of the race as well. I think you've seen that we've had some challenges just from a timing standpoint. NASCAR is the only sport where every second of every race, we don't have time to call a timeout, go to a TV timeout, let the officials sit over on the side for 15 minutes. We've got to make a quick call, and this allows us to do that, Lewis. It allows us to really be quick, see the replays, make calls, and be confident in what we're seeing.
We're going to go George and then Reed.
Yeah, George Winkler with NASCAR.com. It sounded like it was an 18-month process. I was just wondering how many people were involved, how were the teams involved, and what was their reaction to it?
Yeah, we had, what do we have? Probably about 10 or 12 people on the development side, and then we have another handful of people who were really focused on kind of program management and architecture and things like that. So the resources have increased and decreased over time, depending on which phase of development we were in. The application itself, I think, had 2 different people who kind of led the development piece. We also had a designer dedicated to making sure that. That's actually a good point to talk about, not just kind of the look and feel, but we actually spent a lot of time with the NASCAR team observing race control and how they operate, and watching folks like Steve actually switch between laptops and look at other screens and kind of see how they're interacting with the apps. We have a number of user experience experts that work for Microsoft that have been dedicated to this project, that have been doing those observations and then creating prototypes, and then having the NASCAR team actually interact with those prototypes and give us the feedback on whether that was an optimal system for doing that. So a really big focus here is not just, hey, let's take a bunch of things and put them all into one screen and make it look pretty. It's really about how do we increase the usability because of that need to make these snap decisions, these very quick decisions. You have to think about things like not giving too much information at one time, giving the user the ability to, if they want to drill into more data. They have to be very careful about how you present the information when decisions are being made on that. So we had a lot of people involved, but I'd say the core development of this was probably 4 or 5 people.
Reed? Go ahead and ask. Yep.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on something that Mike said. Sounded like that the data gleaned from this partnership may be used to help develop the competition package itself going forward. Is that correct?
I think that is correct. I think a couple things, Reed. When you look at safety, it's going to allow us, as we continue to add on, where are safety vehicles on the track? How can we have that in real time, as a backup, in different alert systems. But certainly from competition, historically the race happens, you go back Monday and Tuesday, you maybe watch the TV feed and your scoring feeds over here, and you had David Hoots and Richard Buck talking about the race. Now we can go back, sit there in real time like we were in the tower, almost recreate the race, what infractions were made, why did we make certain calls, talk to the race teams about how we can improve. So for us, this is not only about being more efficient and transparent at the racetrack, but improving each week when we go back and building our team off of this platform and kind of learning together.
Yep, go ahead.
Blair Henley Frank with IDG. What does the future look like with regards to surfacing all of this data to fans?
I think what I would say is, we've talked often about the fans being in the 41st car and experiencing everything. If you're out there and you're a fan of Clint Boyer, that you're actually experiencing what he's seeing and you're knowing how we're making calls. So, ultimately we still have work to do in terms of getting data out from the racetrack to the fans. But the great news for us is that data, no other sport has more data to be able to compile and get out, and especially with the younger generation embracing technology. So for us is getting as much data as we can out to the fans, knowing that there are some things that the teams need to be proprietary. So those are kind of the discussions we're having now, I'd say, with Microsoft and the race teams of what can we get out to the fans, and then what should we keep maybe proprietary that would affect competition.
And late last year and early this year, we released NASCAR Mobile for Windows 10 and for Windows Phone. Windows 10 first and then Windows Phone early this year. And we continue to revise that. And based on what Steve said, one of the things we're trying to help with in the area of fan engagement is, how do you use telemetry and data and analytics in a way that makes a more interesting product for the consumer, for the fan? How do you present it in the right way? So we could throw a lot of stats at people, but that doesn't necessarily make it a more dramatic event. That doesn't make the race more interesting. The real art is, how do you best present information like that so that you're creating drama, you're creating moments that people are attached to. And with NASCAR, there's so much going on at the same time, even just particularly between individual drivers. And it's a lot of information to consume. So one of the challenges we're working with NASCAR on is, through that fan engagement, through the consumer applications, through digital, how can we use analytics, stats, at the right time in context to create more drama about the event as it happens. And that's a big focus of that same work. Those same people who did the user experience design for the app like this are also focusing on that on the fan side.
Will we see learnings from NGS with the NFL come to play here and vice versa?
I think you're going to see, so next-gen stats is something that we've worked with the NFL on, for taking that same concept, and that's a good example of using telemetry, like how fast was the wide receiver running when he cut to the right and caught the ball. That's a good example of using stats and data to make a more dramatic product. Like, if you had that information in front of you at all times during the broadcast, it would just be in the way. But if you can have the broadcaster, for example, say, all right, what just happened was significant, and let me show you why it's significant, and then using the stats and the data to back that up. We've done a pretty good job with that on the Xbox experience of the NFL and the Windows experience of the NFL, where we kind of automate a lot of that. That's the same type of work we're doing with NASCAR, presenting that kind of information at the best possible time so you generate more drama. And the Windows experience in particular is great as a companion experience while you're watching the live race broadcast. You have your tablet or your phone on your lap, and you want to follow along with what's going on. It gives you more insight into the things that maybe you're more interested in than the general linear broadcast is giving you. So it lets you dive into those things. So yeah, that's a really good example, and that's the kind of thing we're looking to do with NASCAR as well. And we've already done some of those things.
Bob.
I have kind of a three-part question.
Uh-oh.
Kind of wondering how this could affect your ability in determining cautions as far as, like, if a car has spun, whether it's continuing and or debris or fluid on the track, B, getting a lineup straight before and after pit road, and 3, possibly decreasing the time when you do a restart under review, because that, I know it's not like golf, but it seems to take you a little bit of time.
No, that's fair, and I think, so on the first one, determining cautions, I think this gives us, probably more so in the future, Bob, with different camera angles. What Steven showed you right now, you can have one live feed, the ability to build in, all camera angles so that we can look at, different areas of the track. Right now, if we spot, if we get a report from the 2 car that there's debris in turn 2, we'll ask our turn official, do they see anything? If not, no. We'll also look at the feeds, but this will give us, I think, in the future, the ability to, go to that camera on that same application and be able to make that call. On the lineup, I think Steven can show you what we're looking to be able to do from a lineup standpoint, if you want to walk through that real quick.
Yeah, sure. Just real quick. So, one of the things that we were challenged with is the current systems and how we get to that lineup, data, because we've got cars spinning all over the place. It's really hard to figure that out. And sometimes it takes us, 2 or 3 laps to really get that right. So there's a couple of things. This is sort of the first iteration where, we're going to have Microsoft help us determine, what that original freeze looks like. Here we can see the real-time positioning of the cars on the track. And then here is the NASCAR confirmed order. This would be the official order that we're lining up. So it'd be great if the race management predicted freeze is correct. We can go ahead and go with that. We know that the 37 needs to move back 7 spots. The 23 needs to move up a spot. That sort of thing. We can also come in here and say, okay, the original freeze is not right. In fact, we know that the 6 car needs to move over between the 18 and 22. So that updates everything here from a real-time perspective so that we can just at a glance know exactly where our official lineup is, what the original lineup was, because this is important if we need to go back and refer to that. And then here's the actual cars where they are on track.
So you think about the future, Bob, and we're not there today, but the spotter stand, do you have this screen up there at all times so that when we confirm the lineup, boom, look at your car. We'll still use, obviously, radio communication to the teams, but go over here and, the excuse of, I didn't hear the radio, and that's why I jumped ahead 2 spots. I mean, we can, again, be as transparent as possible and have that screen up, potentially for the spotters as well. And on the last one on restarts, I think that's something we want to look to integrate here. We've kind of created that separate, technology to have the camera angle on there, have officials down there as well. But this will, I think, certainly help us from a speed perspective be able to make calls more quickly. And also, Bob, to your point, the questions of getting it to the media center, getting it to the race teams, being able to send that out more quickly will be important for us as well to show why we made that call. And not just rely on, the television partners who are usually terrific, but, sometimes don't have all the data we have, and we can supply that to everybody.
Lewis? This is Lewis Ryan here from Reuters. 20th century technology is eyeballs on, let's take something like a pit box violation. At some point, will the app just send a notification so that that NASCAR officials will know that there's some kind of violation? Are there types, in particular, like the pit box, is fairly simple?
So that's technically possible, and that's one of the things that we're building the infrastructure around with NASCAR. So we have certainly looked at doing that. We've talked about doing that. The capability is technically there. There are some things that we have to do to make sure. Stuff like that, you have to be very careful that it's always accurate, it's delivered at the right time to everyone evenly. It has to be fair. So there's a lot of things you need to test and make sure you're careful in deploying over time. As far as when and where, that's a good question for Steve.
Yeah, I think, Lewis, that might be something we can add on. The Pro system does that now, so our officials who are sitting in there right now don't have to look through 43 stops and then say, oh, there's something here. It bubbles up and says, check the 2. I see that something might be wrong here. And that'll show up on this video integration as well, that we can send that. But I think getting to real time would be huge for us as well.
Jeff? How quickly, if you see something on here that's a controversial call or something and you're making a call, how quickly can you get a clip of what's happening here to the TV partners to show the mass audience what's happening?
Still working through it.
Yeah, that's so NASCAR has an amazing infrastructure for video delivery and being able to encode and get the right content to the broadcaster at the right time. I don't think I can really give a good answer to that. I think it's something that we can. It's the type of I'll put it this way. It's the type of process that technology can significantly speed up over time. There's a lot of different levers we can pull to optimize that type of process. And that can be rolled out over time. There are network things we can change. There are encoding things we can change. There's a lot of things we can do. The good news is that Microsoft has a full stack of technology for doing those types of things. And we have those product teams directly engaged with NASCAR to help them do those types of things.
Yeah, I think, Jeff, the question will be, broadcast quality. So one of the things with our Pro Trailer was, can we get the feed? Sure, but it doesn't look exactly like it should have on a Fox or NBC broadcast. So on this, the ability to kind of capture the screen feed and send it over, I think we could certainly do, but we've still got work to do in figuring out how that would be incorporated into a broadcast.
Reed? Mike mentioned the T-word telemetry. Is there going to be an accompanying move toward more real-time data acquisition on the cars themselves?
I think it's still something we're looking at with the digital dash, with all the data that's capable. We're in a lot of discussions with the race teams right now of what we should share with everyone and what might be or might not be a competitive advantage, and then really kind of containing costs. You look across at F1 and the enormous amount of money that's spent on data and telemetry. We can learn from that, and we want to do it and manage it in a smart way. So get what fans may want to see out to them, but also try and contain the arms race that you see on all the potential data that's out there.
Lee, you have
It was answered, thank you.
Blair?
So I'm going to get real nerdy here for a second. What's the stack for all
I love
of
it.
this look like?
Oh boy, where do I start? Yeah, you want to go, Steve? So the core of this is obviously a Windows 10 universal application, which is a new code base available from Microsoft, where you can write one code, one set of. I sound like I know what I'm talking about. The UWP allows you to have one code base to target multiple platforms. So we can go from any Windows device, any Windows 10 device, including Windows 10 phone, even potentially the Xbox. In this case, probably doesn't make sense to put this on the Xbox, but maybe we can talk about that. We could put an Xbox in race control, but it's one code base for all of that. So what that does mean also for NASCAR is that maintenance and support for that is significantly reduced because they're not maintaining multiple code bases. So the Windows 10 stack is primary for this, and then we have an Azure backend, Azure our cloud services, which have a lot of different services available in them. So we're using push notification services, we're using storage, virtual machines, we're using app analytics. Remind me, there's a lot of things. Azure Media Services. We're in the future, we're testing this right now. We're going to be using Azure Machine Learning, which is something I'm particularly excited about, because you can, what that allows you to do for everyone who isn't a data scientist, what machine learning was going to potentially allow us to do is take race data, put it into a model, and then start making predictions about things. So that could be safety issues. You could say, given a certain scenario, here's what's likely to be happening. Maybe there's a wreck. We could potentially take data from that into that model and say, right, here's the potential for the type of injury that could happen. There's a lot of things that you can do with predictions in machine learning. We're just starting to dabble with those things, but that's kind of the top of the Microsoft Cloud stack, where we have a lot of incredible intelligence in that technology where we can predict things. And I think on the competition side, we can also use machine learning to predict what really makes for a more interesting race and help that inform rules packages and things like that as well. So there's a lot happening. Analytics, storage, virtual machines, app communication through push notifications, things like that, and then media services for the video delivery. Those are the core technologies that are used in this solution now.
And Power BI.
Oh, Power BI. Yeah, I totally forgot about Power BI. So Power BI is business intelligence. It's a UI layer that you can instantly plug into almost any backend data source. It's really phenomenal how it works. It's kind of a companion tool to Excel, but it puts rich visuals on top of any set of data. And so we can use Power BI, for example, to take race data, timing and scoring data, inspection data, whatever, you name it, and we can put a visual interface on top of that. So instead of officials staring at raw numbers in an Excel spreadsheet, they're looking at comparisons, they're looking at charts, they're looking at rich visuals. So that's yet another thing that we've implemented for NASCAR. And the things they built so far, I know Stephen has a demo of one of them, are already pretty impressive. And it's fairly easy to put those things together, too.
We're going to wrap up our formal portion with Jerry.
Real quick, Jerry Jordan, Performance Racing Network and Kicking Tires. How secure on the back end is this for people accessing it by unauthorized means? We have some crafty crew chiefs. So.
Security is something that actually is, in terms of the world of cloud providers, Microsoft is really the leader when it comes to security for a variety of reasons. The government is one of our biggest customers, and you can imagine they have pretty high requirements around security. That the entire stack has its built-in abilities to secure everything, and we provide a lot of levers that NASCAR can pull to decide who can access, who can't access this, everything from encryption to even using services locally. That's another one I didn't mention, but the Azure hybrid cloud is the ability to run Azure services on-prem on your local hardware. And at a racetrack, that's sometimes required if connectivity becomes an issue, which isn't really much of a problem anymore for NASCAR. They've done a really great job with that, but there are times when you need to just connect with local services, and we can run that same Azure stack, those services that we run in the cloud, locally on-prem on their local hardware. And that gives us another layer of potential security advantages that you can do there. So it's part of everything that we do with NASCAR. That's not a challenge to a hacker either. We've done a really good job. That's not a challenge.
We want to thank all of you for coming and participating in this. We will have some availability afterwards. If you're interested in speaking with a Microsoft representative, Jamie can help you with that. Stephen will be here to demonstrate the app if you want to learn more. And we have Steve for a few more minutes here as well. So thank you very much.